It's the next day and we're back at it again, working on installing the supercharger. First things up on the agenda, gonna be putting this bracket on the upper coolant hose that we installed last night. And how we're gonna do this is I'm just gonna loop it around here and then put it down here. That bracket at the bottom of the supercharger that's helping hold it into place, we're just going to take that nut off and then basically put this bracket on and then re-screw it down so this hose will be more secure. Also picked up a new one of these at AutoZone today, so that's all good to go. And then afterwards, gonna be putting on the new serpentine belt, which I'm assuming is probably gonna be a little bit bigger because there's more stuff going on. So that probably makes sense, right? All right, and then here we have the diagram for how it's gonna go on. So if you got the kit and you have the manual, you'll have the diagram to look at as well. But yeah, it's just gonna route around like this. So at some point, I'll just start routing around. At some point, I'll have to loosen up that tensioner to get it all the way around. But those are the next steps, and I'm just gonna knock those out real quick. I have completed installing the serpentine belt. It was a little bit of a struggle. I was basically having trouble routing it because originally I was just sliding it on top, and then I kept having an issue where part of the belt was basically going over like this instead of just going all the way around the rim of basically each pulley. That's just because you can see it down in there. The lower support for the supercharger, that 13mm screw support thing, right? It's kind of blocking me, so I just ended up taking it off, and then how I routed it was I put it over the top, and then I slid it under this one, skipped these two temporarily, went around the water pump, up through this one, around, finished that side basically. Then I put the supercharger back on, tightening it and everything, with it still routed basically this part. And then with that tightened, I loosened the tensioner, which is on this pulley, loosen that back, and I was able to route it around these last two. So that's how I went about it. I had some help doing it. It's kind of hard to hold the tensioner down and then route it around, but we managed, got that done. So pretty cool. Now we will be installing the intercooler, which I have out. So to do so, starting off, we're gonna need to remove our horns, which is just two 10mm screws, and then we're gonna be putting in these brackets that they sent us. It was in the box with my supercharger, and they're labeled right and left, and they're just gonna go in there and screw into those holes, which I don't know if we'll be able to use the horns anymore. I don't know if my car would just be hornless. I feel like to fit this, those are gonna have to go. Strangely enough about the intercooler though, they note in the manual to basically note the orientation at which in the picture they have the intercooler, so you can kind of see the angle at which the intake and outtake of the intercooler holes are, right? So it's kind of weird because here's the logo on mine. It's facing this way, right? So you would think it would just go down onto it like so, right? But if I'm going off the picture, you can see that's not right. It would need to go like basically upside down and facing around the other way, because note the angles, boop, boop, right? You can see that's how it's on there. So basically putting it in upside down and backwards. So I'm going to work on taking out these horns and then putting the brackets on and then putting this underneath those brackets and screwing it all in. Here's the intercooler put on with the brackets like that. And then they say to have the studs on the bottom fit in between the bumper and radiator. So this is actually at an angle. If I lift it up, here's that flat. And you can see like this stud, and I'm just kind of leaning it. So it's kind of, you can see I'm like pulling on it. It's in between that, it's at an angle. I don't know if they want, it came with some hardware these pieces. So I don't know if you like maybe screw some of these on the bottom to give it some more security, but I'm just gonna leave it like that for now. And also they say to leave it kind of loose so you can move it around, so I have it loose. Now I'm gonna be working on putting on some of the piping, connecting the throttle body to the intercooler. So I'm just gonna put that on and then show the different parts afterwards and explain how I did that. I have the passenger side of the intercooler piping all ready and good to go. I have everything still loose, you know, so I can adjust or switch out any things if I need to. But so for the passenger side into the intercooler, there's going to be this 3-inch coupler which goes into the throttle body and then into the first piping. I think they call this the blow-off pipe or something like that. In the manual they have it listed like A, B, you know, for the pipes. I'd recommend that they put a sticker on the pipe so you know exactly what piping they're talking about. I mean, if you use just like common sense, you know, it's almost like a puzzle. You can just kind of put it together. But I would say it'd probably make it significantly easier just having a little sticker that has the corresponding letter to the pipe it's supposed to be, basically. But anyways, so starting off, got the 3-inch coupler, got the two. Oh, this one's pretty stuck in there. Got these two things ready to get tightened down. Then we come down, and then there's gonna be this coupler, which goes from a 3-inch to a 2.5. So in your kit, when you take it out, you'll notice it basically goes big to small. So you're gonna put that in there, and then I got the two things for that ready to go. Also, just for aesthetic purposes, I'm trying to kind of match up all of these things to be facing that way on that side. And then next, you're gonna take the U pipe, which is pretty much the only pipe that's extremely U-shaped, and then you're gonna pop that into the coupler down here, and then it's gonna come over here, and you're gonna take a 90-degree coupler, take it from the U pipe into your intercooler, and then I got the two braces on this side ready to go when I want to tighten everything down. So that's going to be the first portion of the piping. Now I'm going to start working on this side. Well, I ran into an issue which really sucks. I wanted to test to make sure the intake hat would fit on the supercharger, but oh yeah, over here, so this part, basically I need to cut it back more. Like, I'll try to put it in and just kind of show you, but yeah, it's not fitting. That's about as far as I can get it, but you can see it's hitting that corner right there. So I'm gonna have to sadly take off my radiator support again and cut that back a little bit. Luckily, I was able to find a cut wheel here, so I'm gonna start on doing that. I have recut and reinstalled the radiator support. Now we can fit this piece, so that's all Gucci. Most of the front is reinstalled, at least what I deem necessary. At the moment, I tightened down the intake piping, intercooler piping on this side. So we got these two doodads, boop, boop, tighten down. And then down here, these two tighten down. And then these two on the 90-degree coupler. And then I went ahead and did this intercooling piping. So how it goes is got the 90-degree coupler going into the intercooler, then going into this J pipe, got these two clamps, got it clamped down. And this pipe got the straight end of the J pipe, and then it curves down. And there's two pipes that are kind of curved. One is more curved, looking like a J. That's this one. And then next is the other curved pipe that kind of looks like a J, but not as much. And you're gonna connect those with this straight coupler and these two clamps. And then there's that curved, the curved pipe is gonna connect to this 90-degree coupler, which is like the biggest 90-degree coupler, pretty sure, yep. and that's going to connect into your supercharger. And then you got that clamping it down at the supercharger, and then you can barely see it down there. It's like blurry down there. Got that clamp connecting it to the pipe. So that's all the piping, and that's how you connect it. Pretty cool stuff. Next, we will be installing our air temp sensor, which we took out a while ago out of our intake, and that's just gonna go right into that hole and get re-plugged in with this wire. So gonna be doing that momentarily, and they're also going to be installing the blow-off valve, which comes with this gasket, those 2 screws, and then you're just gonna screw it in right there, just like that. And oh, also this metal ring goes right here. There's a sticker that came over this that said do not press in on that and that ring. When I took the sticker off, the ring fell out. So yeah, we're gonna be screwing that down. We're going to be cutting into this line on top of our throttle body. This one you can see right here. We're gonna basically be cutting a chunk out of it and then installing. This tubing came in the box with the blow-off valve. We're gonna be installing this right here, basically just going over the old pipes, and then it also connects to the blow-off valve right there. As you can see, I already stuck it on, so I'm gonna be putting all that stuff on real quick. Got the air temperature sensor installed, finished installing the blow-off valve. Thought I'd mention, by the way, I'm pretty sure this hole is supposed to be facing outwards towards the front of your vehicle. Then I installed this line. Got that all installed. I think in the future I'm gonna cut it to make it shorter, like that, just so it looks a little bit cleaner. And then I went ahead and installed the air intake. So first off, this piece right here, we have the intake hat. Then we got this bracket around it, tightened all the way. That came in the box with the intake hat. And then we have this coupler right here, 45-degree coupler with these 2 clips holding it on. And then we have the last metal tube piece, this thick short boy right here. We got this clamp holding on the air filter. And then I went ahead and there's like this little line on the air filter, and I'm pretty sure it just goes into this drip thing, so I just stuck that on. So bam. Also, you can see I put the air intake box back on, but I don't know if I'm gonna leave this on for sure. I don't think it's really gonna make a big difference, honestly, but I'll just put it back on since I'm pretty sure that's how they have it in the reference build. So yeah, I think that's will be it for tonight, but a lot of progress made this evening. Pretty exciting.